bucket. Where do I even start with this? This car is exactly what happens when you buy a pile of junk and it breaks and you're just too ignorant to get rid of it. You got too much pride wrapped up in your stupid little piece of junk, and so you just throw money at it. But honestly, buying this piece of crap was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made for a handful of reasons. When I first bought this car, I had never worked on cars in my life. When I was in high school, when I first got this thing, I didn't have the money to take it to a shop and get it fixed. So whenever it broke, which it did, I had to fix it, and because of that I had to learn how to work on these cars. I had to learn how to fix it, learn how to diagnose, and because of that I learned how to work on this thing, and I learned how to fix it. I learned how to rebuild the cooling system and learn how to do the intake manifold and redo the cylinder head and do the manual conversion on it. If I had bought a clean running convertible or coupe or sedan that was already manual, I wouldn't know how to do a manual swap. I wouldn't know how to rebuild the cylinder head. So pretty much my mistake on buying a piece of shit is really what started this whole YouTube channel of DIYs and useful information for you guys. Because while my other friends had bought good cars and good running cars that were easy to maintain and only needed oil changes and only needed this every now and then, I ran into problems with this car that shouldn't have even been problems in the first place. And because of that, I learned a lot about these cars and more in depth on how everything just sort of all goes together, which lets me help you guys out with your issues and your projects and gives me a lot more insight onto fixing these cars than I guess I should have if I bought just a normal good running car. So if there's anyone to thank for all of those DIY articles and everything I've helped you guys out with, it's because of this piece of junk right here. Like 90% of the problems that I've had with this car have been resolved, and there's still like a couple of minor things that need to be addressed and fixed, but it's almost there. For one, both the rear axles are clicking, the CVs are pretty much shot, and the shocks are completely done. This thing rides like a freaking 7 Series, like it rides like a boat, just because the shocks are so damn worn. But to be fair, the car sat for like 2 years-ish, and it was never driven, so I'm not surprised that the shocks are gone. Exterior mods starting at the front. We have a set of OBD1 kidney grills. Now this is a 98 M3. The first faceplate, the OE faceplate, got broken, so I got a new one from an OBD1 car, and we have OBD1 grills to reflect that. We have a set of fog light deletes, and we got those young single piece eBay headlights. Now, truth about those headlights, I do prefer the ones on the sedan. They're a much nicer, much cleaner OE look setup to them. When I got these headlights, I was making like $100 a week, and these headlights are literally $100 headlights, and I'm not gonna lie, they are not bad for the price. For a really cheap set of headlights, these are probably the best ones you're gonna find for around $100. That being said, I still prefer a proper headlight setup. I do want to get proper headlights on this car. It's just not a priority at this point. I have had these headlights for about 5 years. So these headlights are 5 years old, and they still look, they're not in too bad shape at all. It's not even really like hazed or glazed up, so these actually kind of lasted pretty well. I understand if you don't really like the look of them. I mean, for the price, they're pretty good headlights. I will say this about these headlight setups, I really only think they look good on black cars. I've seen them on white cars and yellow cars, like the car and some other cars like that, and I just don't think they look as good. I think they really only look good on black cars. Coming towards the back of the car, we do have a set of fogged taillights. Those are also eBay taillights, and that Rocket Bunny ducktail, which is pretty beautiful. I will say though, that ducktail is a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be. But it is a very good looking ducktail, I'm not gonna lie. Now the whole car is dropped on H&R race springs on stock shocks, and that is the only suspension modification at this point that this thing has. I do like the H&R race springs. They are a good feeling setup when you have good shocks. When I first put them on, they felt great, but now because the shocks are worn, they just kind of feel bad. So if you're gonna run H&R race springs, I would not recommend running them on stock shocks because it's just gonna wear them out like it did. We got DS2s up front and contours on the rear. The contours came with this car from factory. The DS2s are actually off of my sedan. So in truth, the BBSs that are on the sedan right now are actually, I bought them for this car. So they're kind of this car's wheels, but the tires on the contours are super worn, and the tires on the DS2s are super worn, and the BBSs are really the only good tires that have good tread on them. So because that's my daily, I've thrown it on for now, and it does look good with the coilover setup. This is not going to be the permanent wheel setup for this car. I plan on putting the BBSs back on, and I'm gonna get some different wheels for the sedan. It's gonna be mad. Now the top has been replaced. This is a Sierra Auto Top canvas top. It looks freaking good. I had this thing put on maybe 2 years ago. I do a lot of things on the channel, but one thing I don't do is upholstery because I'm terrible at it. So I had the top professionally done, and it looks freaking beautiful. This thing is so clean, and it completely changed the look of the car. The previous top that I had on it, or I guess the OE top, was the back window was all scratched up. It was like kind of faded too, and the top literally had holes in it, and the canvas was faded as well. So it gave the whole car a really cheap look. Now with the new top, it looks freaking beautiful. And the car looks significantly cleaner with the fresh top on it. As far as interior goes, of course you gotta have the M seatbelt covers on the stock seatbelts. I have a set of Corbeau Racing 4-point harnesses. When I used to run back in the day on the Canyon with this thing, I would have an issue. My little butt slides around in the seat, so having those there definitely helped me not slide around when I was driving the car, but they don't really get much use nowadays because the shocks are fucked and I can't really rip this car. Not to mention the motor's not even broken in yet. So those are there just for looks right now. We have a set of pretty beautiful eBay pedal covers. As far as the steering wheel setup, we have, I believe it's an Adieu hub or some weird hub shit like that. We have a red NRG quick release setup, and then this is a Renowned Monaco Motorsport wheel. Boom, whole bitch comes off. And this wheel is actually a really freaking nice wheel. I love how it looks, I love how it feels. It's got the M stitching on there, the BMW logo. It looks like an OE Motorsport wheel basically, and Renowned does a damn good job at making OE style aftermarket wheels. It is perforated leather, and it feels really good. So just like the sedan, this is a manual swap car. This is the first car that I manual swapped. So we have a B&M short shift kit, DSSR rod. This is a ZHP shift knob, and the knob itself is cracked. I'm pretty sad. So I dropped the shift knob when I first got it, and it cracked it, so that's pretty freaking sick. So memes. We have a center mirror delete, fuck it, and we have a full manual top conversion. So some of you guys know that. I will leave a link in the video if you want to walk around from that. We also have a headliner delete, so you can see the exoskeleton of the convertible top mechanism, and it actually looks pretty bitchin'. So the manual top works 100% of the time now because it's manual. Freaking sus. And we have a Scosche stereo deck. It sounds pretty good. The rest of the speakers in this car are pretty much fucked, but the deck is a pretty nice deck. Along with the manual swap, it is a full ZF swap, so ZF trans, drive shaft, all that good stuff. It has an ACT 6-puck racing clutch. I think that one's good for about 600 horsepower, something like that. And it has a super lightweight flywheel with it, and the install was a pain in the ass on that, if you guys remember. So along with that, it had a new master, new slave when I did the swap, and it had full stainless clutch lines, all that good stuff, and it works pretty freaking well. The motor. So in a nutshell, on the original motor for this car, I cracked the cylinder head, fixed that, and then I cracked the engine block. So we had to build a whole new motor for that. A lot of you guys were here for that whole series. If you weren't here and you would like to know more about this long block build, I have a full series of videos on building the engine. I'll leave that in the description for you guys. But in a nutshell, this is a modified S52 long block. It's a 3.1 liter S52, low compression, turbo ready basically. So this motor is a 2.8 block bored out to 85 millimeters, running an S52 crank, 135 millimeter Eagle rods, and CP 8.5 to 1 compression forged pistons. The rods are also forged, so it's a full forged bottom end. Full ARP hardware, main bolts, rod bolts, the head studs are ARP. I'm running a CES cut ring head gasket, and the cylinder head had a full R&R valve job deck, all that good stuff. Running S52 cams, running a full factory S52 exhaust system right now because I'm too poor to turbo it. We have an M50 manifold conversion on the car. Mishimoto upper and lower hoses, a Mishimoto radiator, and we're running a Mishimoto catch can right now, which is tucked down there and hidden pretty nicely. So as far as modifications for the long block, that's about it. And I'm not gonna say that that's not a lot, because that's some pretty heavy shit in there. This is a full forged motor, and along with that, it's a fully rebuilt motor. So we got a lot of new, pretty much everything aside from the cylinder head and the engine block casting and all that stuff. So water pump, thermostat, all the gaskets, new oil pump, all the parts that typically wear with time over an engine. So it's got new timing chains, guides, oil pump chain, all that good stuff has been replaced. So this is basically a brand new engine, and it has like 75 miles on it because I haven't driven the car. So this motor is NA. It is a turbo ready motor, and some of the drivetrain is prepped for turbo. When I do boost this thing, I'm probably going to be shooting for 400 horsepower to start, and then we got to upgrade drivetrain components, go from there, and we can run bigger boost and all that fun stuff. It's not turboed yet, and I'm working on it. I'm getting funds for parts and getting the parts list together and all that stuff. It will be coming. I just really wanted to get this car up, running, and drivable, and have a motor that was solid and ready for boost. And that's basically what this motor is. So that's the bucket. She is still a massive work in progress. This car is the project car of the channel, and the motor's good, the trans is good, the whole drivetrain is good up front, and everything around it's kind of crap. It just looks good. So this car is the project car of the channel, and there is a lot more that we still need to do to it aside from the turbo setup. So there's a lot coming for this car. There's a lot coming for the other car too, but a lot more coming for this car. So now that you guys know what I'm working with as far as the car setups, hopefully you guys should be a little bit more in tune with the channel, a little bit more in tune with the cars, and hopefully you guys can enjoy the videos a lot more. All right, I will see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Keep it fresh, and I'll see you guys later.
We are dreaming in the dark. We are nothing more than dust. Search but you stay lost. We are reaching for the stars, but we're